Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today, and what a delight to have with us one of our favorite people. Laurie Cardoza-Moore is with us again today. She is the founder and the president of Proclaiming Justice to the Nation, and she made available here on theDove TV that incredible showing that we had a couple of weeks ago of Israel Indivisible. What an incredible movie. If you haven't gotten it, go to her website and get this DVD and share it with your family and friends. And you can go to pjtn.org and order that there. And she's also got a great event coming up at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, where she's going to have Ambassador John Bolton be the keynote speaker at an event, and I look forward to being there for that. Laurie, good to see you. How you doing, my friend?
We're doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great. We're getting some much-needed rain, so we're pretty happy campers.
Good, good, good. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in Nashville very soon. We're excited to have Ambassador Bolton, and I'm delighted that you're going to be able to be there and hear his timely message at this critical hour.
No question about it. Well, listen, you're heading to the Vatican. What's the deal?
Well, this year is the 50th anniversary of Nostra Aetate. And as you all know, our mission at PJTN is to educate Christians about their biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren and defend the state of Israel against the rise of the new anti-Semitism. And 50 years ago, on October 28th this year, it is the official anniversary of the Catholic Church taking a position to condemn anti-Semitism once and for all. They formalized a document called Nostra Aetate, which is the Latin words in English is in our time. And they finally addressed the issue of centuries of Christian anti-Semitism. And in Nostra Aetate, not only did they condemn anti-Semitism and say that you cannot be a good Christian or a good Catholic and be anti-Semitic, but they restated that our faith comes from our Jewish brethren, comes from the Hebrew roots of the faith, and that Christians can no longer blame the Jews for killing Christ, and that the Jewish people are still in relationship. They still are in covenant. They recognize the covenant that God made with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants forever. So it was really a huge thing for them to do back in 1965. And, here we are 70 years out from the Holocaust, and we're witnessing a rise of global genocidal anti-Semitism that is unbelievable. In fact, we just did a screening in Tipperary, Ireland, and the response was incredible to the community. However, Stan and I did a Skype Q&A following the screening, and it was interesting, some of the comments, because the narrative that people continued to communicate and espouse was that the Jews are occupying Palestinian land, much like what we hear here in the West. Is the same narrative is being promoted to the residents or citizens of Ireland. Wow. And so, of course, Ireland, 91% of Ireland is a Catholic country. I mean, most of the citizens of Ireland are Catholics. So, of course, I address, because our mission is to a Christian audience, I addressed the Catholics and I said, are you all aware of Nostra Aetate? Most of them have never heard of it. In fact, I was raised Catholic, and I had no idea that this document even existed until recently. It was a couple of years ago. It was brought to my attention that one of the late PJTN advisory board members, Rabbi Dr. Gerald Meister, who passed away a couple of years ago, was actually there and helped draft and sign the document on behalf of the Israeli government. So it was huge. It was a huge thing.
Well, a couple of things come out of this. Number one, are you expecting the Pope to acknowledge this and give it more credence? What do you expect to have happen here?
Well, this is the second of our initial meeting. We were there. We were at the Vatican back in April, and we met with members of the Pontifical Council. This time we've been invited back to meet with Cardinal Koch, who is the president of the Pontifical Council on Christian Unity. And we are petitioning, again, this is our second petition, our second request to Pope Francis, that there be a commemoration this year of the 50th anniversary, and that the Pope come out and publicly condemn again the rise of anti-Semitism globally. And we're asking the Pope to not just celebrate this anniversary, one time, that he would institute in perpetuity a Nostra Aetate Day in October every year to remind Christians, to remind Catholics that we cannot continue to allow the narrative, the false narrative that the Jews killed Jesus, that the Jews are no longer in covenant with God. We can't allow that narrative to be communicated to the Christian world. And we as Christians, because we are still the largest religion on the face of the planet, we have a responsibility to uphold the truth in God's word. And so we're also asking the Pope to reach out to the Protestant faiths and ask the Protestant faiths also to join in this effort in condemning this around the globe.
Good for you. That's wonderful. And yet, as much as we want to see this done, and we're praying that it will be done, and this is emphasized, there's still a rise of anti-Semitism around the world. And I am, Laurie, when I have you on, and we've done your movie, and we've done other things together through these years, and how deeply I appreciate all of that, I still get emails from viewers and listeners that are anti-Semitic, and I just scratch my head trying to figure out what's going on in their head.
I know. It's so amazing. I was on Facebook last night. I try to go on Facebook and try to respond to some of the chatter that's going on, and by Christians, I'm shocked by some of the comments that come out of people's mouths, and I respond back and tell them, what Bible are you reading from? Because one day you are going to have to stand before Almighty God, and one of my favorite books to quote is out of the book of Obadiah, when God told the prophet that in the latter days, that means during this time, the time that that we're alive, that in the latter days, God's going to wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brother Jacob, or Israel, was held in captivity and they did nothing. If we just look at what's happening around the East, it's not just the Jews now that are being targeted, it's Christians. Right. Look at the poor young pilot in Jordan who was targeted by who was Jordanians, by and large, are supportive of Israel. They're the only country really in the Arab world that even has that relationship. They protect the Christians that travel into their country. But we see this growing threat of radical Islamists, and we wonder, in the last days, who is the false prophet? Who are we fighting against? And the reality is if we can't defend Israel, and this is why it's so important that we stand with our Jewish brethren and we defend the state of Israel, we are Israel. Paul said in Galatians 3:29, if you are in Christ, you are Abraham's seed, and you are an heir according to the promise that God made to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their descendants forever. Paul said in the book of Romans that God's gifts and calling to Israel are irrevocable. He told the believers in Ephesus, you who were once outside of the commonwealth of Israel have been brought near because of Jesus' shed blood. So it's important that Christians understand we're living in the last days. This is the time, just like Esther, we're getting ready to celebrate Purim. And we all know the story of Queen Esther, how she didn't want to go before the king because she wasn't invited. And her cousin Mordecai said, don't think that you and your family, your household, will survive the wrath, that God will deliver the Jewish people from some place. But how do you not know that you have come into this place, into the kingdom for such a time as this? And that's my message to the church. How do we not know that God brought us into the world for this time, equipping us with everything, all the gifts that we each have as individually and collectively as a congregation? How do we not know that we haven't been brought into time at this time, for such a time as this, to make a difference for Israel, to stand with our Jewish brethren so they don't stand alone. I can't tell you what that means to the Jewish community around the world.
Right, right. Well, Laurie, you are an inspiration. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, all of this gets ratcheted up to a whole new level coming up March 3rd as Prime Minister Netanyahu is coming in spite of all of the so-called, I don't know, protocols that weren't correctly done. I don't know. It's an interesting time. But the Prime Minister is coming to America to a joint session of Congress to speak. The question I have for you to ponder while we take the break, do you think he might reference King Abdullah in his speech? We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with Laurie. Okay, we're back and delighted to have with us today Laurie Cardoza-Moore. She's the founder and the president of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. This is an outstanding organization doing an incredible work. You can participate with them and help them and be a part of what they do by going to pjtn.org. It's a great website with a lot of resources on there. And also order up the DVD, Israel Indivisible, and use that in your church and your small groups, your home. Have it for your own homeschooling, your children, grandchildren. It is terrific. Well, Laurie, as I said going into the break, the Prime Minister is coming to Washington, D.C. March 3rd. And, of course, you know all of the unrest about whether or not proper protocol was made. I like what he said in one of his interviews. He said, I will go anywhere to give a speech on how to protect Israel against Iran. And I thought, well, that pretty much says it. But in the recent days, with all the happenings with the killing of the Jordanian pilot, an incredible murder, assassination there, and now Jordan is striking back. Do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu might mention in some way or another Jordan or King Abdullah in a speech to the joint session?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is not, the Prime Minister has repeated over and over and over that this is not just a problem for Israel. This is a problem for the free Western world. And of course, we saw that with the slaughter of this innocent young man who was just representing his country, and to murder him this way. It's unbelievable. This is what we're dealing with. And remember, this is the same group that Obama wanted to fund the terrorist group in Syria. ISIS has all of our equipment as a result of this administration. We're in this situation in the Middle East because of the failure of the Obama administration. And this is why it is so important that we as Americans stand with Israel, because Israel is on the front line of this battle. It's amazing how Obama had his feathers ruffled because Bibi was coming to speak to a joint House of Congress at the request of Speaker Boehner. And it's amazing to me how Obama just decides to do things without Congress, but when Congress decides to do something without Obama, then it's a problem. Really? Well, something, the beauty of Congress is you will see, and I am delighted to announce that I'll be able to be on the floor of Congress. My Congresswoman invited me. She had one ticket available, and she invited me to come and join her. So I'm honored to be able to be present at that time during that historical speech. But you will see that Bibi will get standing ovation after standing ovation because the Congress represents the will of the people, of Americans. Right. Americans do not support Obama's policies. It is Obama's failed policies that have created the chaos in the Middle East. If you go to Tunisia, you look at what happened in Libya, in Egypt, in Syria, in Iraq. It's all over the Middle East. Every place that this footprint, Obama's footprint, has been placed, has created chaos and havoc. And who is reaping the havoc? It's Christians, it's Jews, and now it's even Jordanians. It's other Arabs that don't align with this radical ideology. And if we think that this ideology and these events that are happening in the Middle East are not going to come to the United States of America, to our cities, we are fooling ourselves. And that's why it's critically important that we take this battle to them. We don't sit around and do nothing like this administration does. When the leader of the free world creates the vacuum and refuses to lead, someone will.
Well, he met yesterday privately. We don't know who and what it was all about with some Islamic leaders. And yet this is all in the shadow of what's happening with Jordan. And we still don't know what the outcome of those meetings were. It appears that this president has a tendency to, well, I don't even know how to say it. It just seems like he's more pro-Islamic than he is America and Israel.
Well, he stated it very clearly that one of his favorite things to hear was the call to prayer in the morning. It was one of the most beautiful sounds for him to hear. He grew up in Indonesia. He grew up in Muslim countries. He said under the tutelage of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who is also a Muslim. And Obama has talked about, when Obama goes to these Muslim countries, he talks about his Muslim faith. But for some reason in the United States, we still think he's a Christian. Really? You look at his allegiance. There was a recent pastor who went to meet with Obama. This was about a year ago, who wanted, when all the attacks against Christians were happening in the Middle East. And this pastor asked, what are you going to do to help the Christians? And he was told, the Christians better get used to it. Every place this administration goes, he creates havoc. I don't know how we're going to, unless Congress puts their foot down and demands accountability and even starts challenging Obama. There's no hope for this country. We're losing this country, but it's not going to change unless Americans stand up and contact their congressmen. Forget about calling the White House. It's not going to make any difference. We have to call our congressmen. We have to call our senators. We must demand accountability by this administration. This administration under Obama is driving America into the ground. And unless we as Americans, as Christians, stand up to uphold justice and uphold righteousness and protect the innocent people around the world, who else is the world going to go to?
Boy, you are
if America doesn't run to the aid, who will go?
You are absolutely right. Now, isn't it, when the Prime Minister comes, Netanyahu comes and speaks to the joint session, yeah, he's going to get, I mean, he's an incredible communicator. I mean, it's been said, why can't we find a leader like that to be president of the United States? He is going to bring to the forefront the threat of terror around the world and to the free world in particular. And it's going to put Congress on the spot. What are they going to do about it? What would you like to see come out as a result of his speech to the joint session?
I hope that he will so inspire and ignite the passion in the hearts of those men and women in Congress to take the message to the people, to bypass the White House and go to the American people and create the media campaign that is necessary to gain the support of Americans to push back, to demand that this administration, that Obama either step up to the plate or get out of the way. Because if Obama will not lead, then Congress must.
All right, you've got a scandal going on now in the White House as it relates to supporting terrorists around the world. It broke pretty heavily last night on the news. And then you have Netanyahu coming to the joint session. It appears this president could be called on the carpet. It appears we may see an impeachment process based upon national security.
You know something? We've been calling for impeachment of this man for acts of treason against the United States of America for the last 2 years. It has gotten to the point where Obama could care less about what Congress says, and he is taking matters upon himself. Look at the people that Obama has put in places of authority and leadership. Look at the advisors he has surrounded himself with. They are Muslim Brotherhood members. The Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. They are the umbrella of all the other terrorist organizations like Hamas, like Hezbollah, like Fatah. And the numbers go on and on and on. And if we as Americans do not demand that these men, it's time for articles of impeachment. It's long past time. Look at what we did with Bill Clinton. Congress was willing to drop articles of impeachment on Bill Clinton for lying about a blue dress. And here, this man has created or implemented acts of treason against the United States, against our Constitution, and nothing has been done about it. And people say, "Oh, well, you can't do that because the American public wouldn't have it." You know something? That's baloney. The American people, we've been hogtied and fooled to believe that the American people would be upset if articles of impeachment were drawn up.
All right.
Look at what this man has done to this country.
There could be something on the horizon here that could get the ball rolling. As you know, in the Senate confirmation hearings for Attorney General Lynch, who now says that she feels that the president has acted within his authority on the immigration and executive order, which obviously nobody else does. And his own Secretary of Defense nominee, Carter, goes before the confirmation hearing and cannot explain what the policy is to fight ISIS. If these two are turned down, it would seem to me that things will begin to roll.
I agree with you, and that's why it's important, again, that we make the phone calls, that everyone in the listening audience needs to contact their senators, needs to contact their congressmen. Articles of impeachment need to be drawn up. Neither one of these people should be appointed. They are not, for a potential attorney general to say he's worked within the laws of the Constitution of the United States of America, really? She's not reading the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't know what Constitution she's reading, but it's not ours.
Well, Laurie, this is an amazing time. I guess all eyes will be on the nation's capital coming up March 3rd. Our prayers are with you as you head to the Vatican. And I trust that the Catholic Church, which has led the way on so many other issues that are so important, especially on the right to life issue, and put their money where their mouth is, I sure hope that they bring this to the forefront on anti-Semitism.
We do too, and I think that they will, and I think that it's an opportunity that Pope Francis is wanting to try to build more a coalition of unity amongst all the different Christian denominations, and I think this is a great way to start to extend that olive branch to begin this process, because you're right, the Catholic Church has been adamant about the abortion issue, and we need the Catholic Church to come out and lead, and we need the Protestant churches also to follow suit.
Wonderful. Well, you're a delight and inspiration. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks for your great event, and keep up the good work, and can't wait to talk to you on the other side of your Vatican visit.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in Nashville too. God bless you guys.
You too, Laurie. See you. All right, we'll be right back.